When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome, dear Huda TV viewers from all around the world. Welcome to your favorite program, Let's Talk, of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV. I know I'm a little bit biased because I work here, but I do believe that Huda TV, mashallah, is the premier and pioneer Islamic channel in the English language. You guys give me an email at talk@huda.tv if you have any ideas or suggestions for new topics, new ideas, and new guests for this wonderful program, inshallah. Speaking about today, we have a very interesting topic and a very interesting guest. Let me introduce the guest first. He hails from Cologne, Germany. He's a dear friend to Huda TV. He travels the world promoting and defending Islam. He's a wonderful brother. We're happy to have him. Of course, I'm talking about Perre Vogel. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Pierre. How are you?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for being here. I certainly appreciate it. You're always welcome to be on Let's Talk. I really mean it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Pierre. And of course, we have our wonderful studio audience here. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. You guys, thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule as well. The brother up here with the mic, can you give us your first name, what you do, and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Sharif Ahmad. I'm from Cairo, Egypt. I'm a freelancer German teacher. And it's a pleasure to me to have a seat with you today and to listen about seeking of knowledge.
MashaAllah, thank you, brother. Now you speak English, you speak Arabic. What other languages do you speak?
German and Spanish too.
German and Spanish. ¿Cómo estás? And also speak as Deutsch, MashaAllah. You guys can talk after the show a little bit.
Yeah.
In German?
Thank you so much, Brother Sharif. Brother Pierre, we want to talk about knowledge, okay? Perhaps we can define what do we mean by knowledge, because, for example, I attended a university in California, and I took, MashaAllah, by the grace of Allah, a degree in English language, literature. So is this qualified as knowledge? What do we mean by knowledge? Are we only talking about Islamic sciences?
Yeah, mostly when we talk about knowledge, and we are not giving any detail, we are talking about Islamic knowledge. But of course, the worldly knowledge from beneficial subjects is also very important for us, and we should not underestimate it.
Okay.
I give you an example. For example, there are some parents, for example, they just want that their children become shuyukh, ulama.
Right.
And they put them in a certain school, especially in Arabic countries, where they are only learning Islamic subjects. But I say, we need in our community, we need scholars, Islamic scholars, and maybe it's right that we really have the most, maybe this is the most important, especially in this time for us, because we have to defend the religion. But we need also doctors. We need also people who invent something. And so what I like is, because every single human being has his particular talents.
That's right.
Particular talents. So maybe your son, he has a talent to be a good mathematician. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was the best in choosing for certain topics, certain people. For example, he chose Mus'ab ibn Umair to go to Medina to teach the people about Islam. He chose Mu'adh ibn Jabal to bring them to go to Yemen and teach the people about Islam. But he chose Usama ibn Zayd for certain wars. He chose his father Zayd ibn Haritha for jihad, and so on. So he chose people, and they had different. For example, Abu Huraira. One example. Abu Huraira, his speciality is not jihad, and his speciality is not giving sadaqah like Abdurrahman ibn Auf, or like Uthman ibn Affan, who were very famous for giving sadaqah.
Right.
But his strongest was in memorizing a hadith.
Right.
So everybody has a talent, and he should look, where is my talent? How can I benefit the ummah? Maybe your talent is to be a good doctor.
Right.
Do we need doctors? Yes, we need doctors, we need this. And so we should look that we give at the beginning, it's my opinion, my personal opinion, and of course I think I have a good explanation for it, inshallah. But my opinion is that we should, from the beginning, of course, give them as an Islamic,
foundation.
Foundation, exactly.
Right.
like Tawheed and Fiqh, you know, that they know how to pray, they know who Allah is,
Right.
you know what the religion
Memorize
is, you know
Quran.
about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the same time, you know, there is also worldly knowledge, and there is one verse in the Quran, you know, and I think most Muslims don't really think about it. I think this verse is, when we ponder about it, really a verse who encourages to seek knowledge about the universe and everything.
Not necessarily Islamic knowledge.
Yeah,
Right.
all the knowledge about everything. Allah says in Surah Al-Jathiyah, it's the 45th chapter of the Quran in verse 13. He says, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مِّنْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. That means He made everything. سَخَّرَ لَكُم, that means like, you know, He make it useful for you, or he make it beneficial for you, you know. Everything in the heavens and earth. And this are really signs for those who think deeply. When we have now, you can look at the translation in your, it's 45:13.
Okay.
Surah 45:13. So when we see, for example, something like the planet this or the planet that or this or that hayawan, animal,
Right.
there is a benefit in it for us.
Right.
وَسَخَّرَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مِّنْ. Everything is from Him. So that means Allah put in this and that a benefit for us. So we have to look which kind of benefit is in this particular thing.
Right.
And this is also one of the keys why the Muslims in former times were the best
Right.
in I say in non
Islamic
religious science.
Okay.
You know, they were the best without the slightest shadow of a doubt.
Of course, we can even say that civilizations have gone downward because perhaps we lost both. We stopped seeking Islamic knowledge so much and secular knowledge.
Yeah, you know, actually, you know, there are a lot of competitions and a lot of challenges in the future. The Prophet ﷺ, he was a person, he had open eyes. He knew, for example, in the 5th year after Hijrah, when Ghatafan and Quraysh, they band together and came with 10,000 soldiers to Medina, he knew it before. And so they were able to shuffle this khandak,
Right.
to come with this
Tunnel, a ditch.
the ditch. Yes,
Right.
yes. Why? Because he knew, you know, he was always forbearing.
Right.
And so we have to be like this. You know, for example, we know now, or there are, you know, they estimate that in future there will be a big problem of water.
Right.
So we, especially the Muslim countries, are in deserts.
Yeah.
We have to look now, how can we solve this problem in the
Right. Of
future?
course,
So
we have to be
there
focused.
is this purely Islamic knowledge, and there is this so-called worldly knowledge.
Right, okay.
And we have to look where our talent is,
Of course.
but of course with Islamic methodology, and that our fundamental is Islam,
Of course.
Quran and Sunnah.
Of course. So that's wonderful, brother. We're talking about seeking knowledge according to your capacity. However, we should always have a firm foundation, understanding of our Islamic beliefs. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Brother, for example, you know, I know traditionally people travel to far away in foreign, distant lands to acquire knowledge. Yemen, Egypt, Syria. I know yourself, you've traveled around a lot to a lot of different countries seeking knowledge. What about someone who doesn't have those means, who can't travel distant? What resources can they do?
Yeah,
Do they have?
that's a good question, you know. Actually, we encourage the people always to go abroad. For example, I have now 45 letters from people, you know, and I'm looking for places for them and who support them to study abroad.
Well, now we're talking about Islamic sciences.
Because we need for Islamic sciences, we need really specialists, especially in the West. You know, we need people who know the language of the country and who know Islam. For example, in Germany, yes. And for example, in Germany, we have over 2,000 mosques.
MashaAllah.
It's the most in any country in Europe. But in most mosques, there is an imam who doesn't speak German.
Right.
But the young people who grew up in Germany, they know German better.
Right.
And they have different problems, you know.
Right.
So we need people who grew up in Germany or grew up in Belgium, grew up in Holland, go abroad, learn Islam, come back and teach the knowledge, because Islam is coming.
Right.
This is what we know, this is what the enemies of Islam know.
Right.
Islam is coming. But as you said, not everybody will be able to go abroad. Maybe he has a for example, I stopped studying in Mecca because my girl got ill. You know, she was born and she had a heart problem, so I was not able to continue the studies. Other people have financial problems, other people have different problems, and maybe somebody, he accepted Islam, he's 50 years old, he will not be accepted in, for example, in Saudi Arabia in a university. So what should he do? Does he say, oh, I'm too old? Don't say you're too old. Ibn Khuzaymah started learning Talab al-Ilm when he was 40 years old, and he became a good big muhaddith. Ibn Hazm, he had the own madhab, he started when he was 28, and some people even say also he was 40 years old. Don't say this, but what can you do? And knowledge is a lot about what are you doing with your time. You know, and a lot of times when you would look where I am, you know,
actually spending my time,
you see, you know, you will be amazed. You know, when I say you,
or shocked.
I have shocked, that's a better word. Yeah, right. Amazed is something else. I give you an example. You know, 10 years ago in Germany there was nothing, almost nothing. You know what I did was, or 11 years ago when I accepted Islam, I watched Islamic channels. For example, I always, late at night, I woke up for looking at Bilal Phillips in Sharjah and in Ikra. There was one Sheikh Isnu Riyaz Ansari.
Okay.
And, you know, I took his lectures and put it on a tape. It was there, this time still a tape. You know, and then I was, always when I was driving with a car, and it's sometimes 1-2 hours a day, I was hearing lectures. So look, you know, I know a brother, every day he hears 2 lectures only by MP3. He has an MP3 and he hears 2 lectures.
How does he do that? Just from moving around, his time in traffic?
For example, he's in traffic. For example, he goes to a shop, buys something. For example, he sits at home. You know, for example, you know, he hears lectures and Quran. You know, almost 2 hours a day. You know, and believe me, if you look at your time, you have this time. For example, in Egypt, you go to the mosque. Always the way to the mosque and the way back, if you look at it, it's at 20 minutes. If you take now MP3 and you hear Quran, you can maybe make, if you hear Sudais, or Shuraim, he is not so, he's quite fast, quite quickly. You know, in 30 minutes, he has a whole juz. So that means, in one day, you can, by hearing, you can repeat 2 juz. You know, so this is one way, you know, like really that we try to look where do we have the best time.
Certainly time management. Of course, those of us living in big metropolitan areas like here in Cairo, we have a lot of time with it, and that's why we see, Brother Pierre, people reading the Quran. When I first moved here to the Middle East, I saw people reading Quran on the metro, on the bus. I said, how can he read like that? It's moving up and down. But this man is managing his time wisely. I actually met a man who memorized the Quran, studying on the metro, and then sitting with his sheikh at night. In the morning, he would revise what he read with the sheikh on the metro, and he'd go sit with his sheikh at night. I mean, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, you can really benefit a lot from this time, this way.
Time management. But that applies to all Muslims all around the world. What about distance learning, for example, learning online? Do you recommend this or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of course. I mean, it's normally, in normal circumstances, it's better to sit in front of the sheikh.
Okay, this is preferred.
Yeah, normally. But for some people, the situation is different. Say, for example, like, to repeat it one more time, and I recommend the Islamic Online University.com from Bilal Phillips. I mean, this is when you see this, what he's teaching there, it's a very great, great studies, and especially in his studies, these 4-year studies.
It's accredited.
You know, it's accredited, and it's for free. You know, Islamic Online University.com. I say to everybody who's watching, enter it and join it. Really, if you are not able to go abroad, try it. Even even the people who are living in the Arabic countries,
use it.
You know, You know, you learn, because this program is Dawa oriented. Its orientation is on Dawa. You know, not every. For example, when I study, if somebody studies, for example, Sharia, in Jamiatul Azhar, in the Azhar University. It's very good studies, but it's not the orientation, the focus is not on Dawa.
Right.
But the orientation, the focus of Dawa is one, from Bilal Phillips, it's very focused on Dawa in the West.
Okay.
And this is why I also say there's something else. He has a free program, for example. There is a Dawa course.
Okay.
I recommend everybody
to take this course.
Join this Dawa course. It's great.
Okay, right.
You really find, you really can handle 90%. I have, alhamdulillah, I have a lot of experience with the people there.
Right.
Mostly the people, they will not come to you with issues that are, very complicated. If somebody comes with a complicated issue, say to him,
I'll check it out.
I will check it out. It's very important how to answer questions
you
cannot answer.
Right,
how to answer. Some people they become angry. Why are you asking me?
Or they give an answer that's wrong. They're not qualified to say.
Exactly. This is what I want to say. So just say, this is a good question. I write it down and I give you later on this the answer, inshallah.
Excellent.
Like this. And really in this Dawa course, it covers maybe 90% of the common questions that come. Dawa with Christians, Dawa with Hindus, Dawa with atheists, how you manage the Dawa. It's such a great
amazing
course. Yeah, very. I tell everybody, IslamicOnlineWisdom.com, this is a free course. It costs nothing. You have at the end of the test, you get a certificate. Yeah, that's great.
That's a great recommendation.
And this is, for example, something I just can say it's very good.
Excellent.
Of course, Arabic language is another issue.
Okay.
There are, for example, in Germany, you have to learn the language in a foreign,
It's not easy.
It's
hard.
hard.
But before we address this topic, let's go to a short break. I want to remind the viewers, we also Huda Online Academy does have Arabic as well, and I think Mishka University as well. But let's take a short break and talk about learning Arabic in the West or overseas. That's a good topic, inshallah. You guys stay tuned for more Let's Talk with Perre Vogel.
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of Ask Huda.
I have 2 questions.
Please go ahead. You can read it in Arabic and you can also understand the meaning in your own language. The different tafsir and the interpretation of the meanings of the Quran are available in almost every language that exists on earth by the grace of Allah. The water of Zamzam is for whatever intention you drink it with. Salih from Egypt, his father has the way and he asked about how can he help him. Very good question.
Can we give a zakat to any of the Dawa centers?
The ibadah or the act of worship is a part of the unity of worship. It has to be paid to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in accordance with the guidance of His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Let's Talk with Perre Vogel. Brother Pierre, do you mind if we go to the studio audience and ask these brothers a question before we get back to our...
Okay.
Go ahead, brother. Do you guys have any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother.
I'm Nabil from Egypt.
MashaAllah, thank you, Nabil.
I want to know about the Islamic University. Now you said about there are 3, I think, Islamic University. Could you recommend us what it's a number 1, number 2, number 3?
Well, Brother Pierre you really love the Islamic Online University with with Dr. Bilal, because it has it's an accredited program that has even Dawa course, right? We also have Huda Online Academy, which Huda TV launched with Dr. Salah and the credible scholars that everybody loves, as well as Mishka University, which is with Dr. Hatem Al-Hajj. So perhaps everybody can get online and check all 3 of those out. So
I think also it depends on the talent of the people. It's always hard to say, this university is better than this and this university. It depends on who want to study there. For me, for example, I tell you, I'm Dawa oriented. My orientation, my focus is on Dawa.
Yeah, so that works for you.
And Bilal Phillips, he is for me one of the greatest da'is in the West. I know him personally. and I benefited from him a lot. And I had, in my first time when I became Muslim, I always went to his lectures and I looked, you know, and he had so convincing answers, you know.
Yeah.
And really, you know, his lecture, for example, The True Religion of God, it's one of the best lectures for non-Muslims.
Yeah,
it's so convincing.
Yeah, really, it is.
Yeah, it's so convincing, and it has a good way. But this does not mean that we just take from him and we don't take from Muhammad Salah. No, Muhammad Salah, I know him also personally, is very good.
Yeah.
You know, I just know. So look at the program. Look at the program. What do you like? For example, the program of Bilal Phillips has also a great fiqh program. It's a book, Mulakhasul Fiqhiyya from Sheikh Fawzan. It's a book, it's mainly based on the Hanbali madhab, and it's a very good book, you know. And but of course, one guy, he has a talent and he is interested in fiqh. The other guy is interested in tafsir. The other guy is interested in Dawa. So he looks, what is benefiting me most? This is also always the problem for the people who are studying in universities. Which kuliya will I go? You know, will I go to the faculty of Aqidah, of the dogma, and so will I go to the faculty of tafsir, of the explanation of the Quran? Will I go to the faculty of fiqh? So everybody has to look, what is my talent? What are my priorities? And what do I like? But you know, for example, Islamic Online University, this is something what I say, it's absolutely great. It's a great, and Huda Academy, I also looked at it, and it's also very good. But I didn't look too deep into it.
We're just getting started.
Because also, you know what the advantage of Bilal Phillips is, he is almost more than 30 years active in Dawa.
I mean, huge experience.
With non-Muslims. He has so much experience, and I met him personally sometimes. And we had a lecture in Germany where a lot of people accepted Islam.
MashaAllah.
You know, in Frankfurt, you know, and you know, he has a good way to explain things.
He's very convincing, like you said in his answers.
Yeah, he's very convincing, and he is also a person may Allah
protect him
and bring him into paradise. You know, I love him very much. You know.
Excellent. Well, thank you for answering, brother. We're talking about learning Arabic in the West. Before we get to that, I want to ask you briefly. You said some people they put their kids in a purely Islamic school and they don't give them a secular, so to speak, worldly education. What about the reverse? Because I do know some parents who say, you know, memorizing Quran, Islamic science, that's only if your kid isn't achieving. Let's put him, we want our kid to be a doctor, engineer, which is great, but they don't give him the foundation. That's problematic, isn't it?
You know, what I said before, if somebody says, just learn Islam, you know, I prefer to learn both. But to say, don't learn Islam, just secular languages or worldly languages, this is absolutely wrong. Because what is our aim in life? What is our goal? Our goal is entering paradise. And Allah says, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Those who fear Allah are those who have knowledge. This is Islamic knowledge here. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you know, and this is a hadith, مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِي عِلْمٍ أو يبتغي في علم, more than one riwayah, يبتغي في علم سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة. Who looks for a way to get knowledge, this is Islamic knowledge, so Allah will make the way to paradise easy for him. And then he says, وَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَ لَتَدَعُ أَجْنِحَتَهَا لِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ رِيدًا بِمَا يَصْنَعُ. And even the like the angels, they put down, you know, the
wings.
The wings, yes. For the talibul ilm, for the one, you know, this is Islamic knowledge.
For the student of
ilm. Because they are pleased with him. وَإِنَّ الْعَالِمْ لَيَسْتَغْفِرَ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَتَّى الْحِيتَانُ فِي الْبَحْرِ. And the alim, you know, this is also Islamic knowledge. You know, everybody makes istighfar for praise for forgiveness for, you know, even the big fish in the sea, everything what is in heaven and in earth. You know. And then he says, وَفَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضْلِ الْقَمَرِ عَلى سَائِرِ الْكَوَاكِبِ. And you know, like فَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلى الْعَابِدِ. But how do we فَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ? You know the preference of the alim, of the knowing one, to the abid, the one who worships. Not the jahil, but the one who worships. He goes to the mosque. It's like the moon to the other planets. By the moon, he gives you light. The alim, he gives you light.
That's a wonderful,
and the Prophet said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وعلمه. The best of you is the one who what? Who learns the Quran and teaches the Quran. So of course this is the most important thing.
Of course.
And I mean, we want to be protected from shaitan. There is a call of the Salaf, they say فقيه واحد أشد على الشيطان من ألف عابد. The one who has knowledge, understanding in religion is harder for the shaitan than thousands people who are worshipping God without knowledge.
Right.
So because we want to have paradise. You know, if you are the biggest alim in the world, you know, and you know nothing, you know not to pray, and you know nothing about the shahada, it's a big problem.
Right, that's a big problem, right. Brother, what about, let's talk about the Arabic language if you don't mind. There's people who know the Arabic language fluently, but they don't practice the deen, and there's people who study the Arabic language just for the sake of studying the Arabic language, like these linguists. How important it also is then, in this case, we are studying the Arabic language in order to understand Islam, or are we studying the Arabic language to understand the Arabic language? What's our attention?
Yes, of course. I mean, the importance of the Arabic language, the importance, the priority, or the first importance is not for like economical reasons, but to understand the Quran and the Sunnah.
Okay.
Because it's always a big difference if you understand something from the sources or from a translation.
Okay.
A translation is always a kind of explanation. Explanation. This is also why you cannot give a mushaf, you know, like a Quran in Arabic, to a non-Muslim. But you can give a translation of the Quran.
It's not the
a translation of the meanings you can give to a non-Muslim.
Right.
So when we study Arabic, our aim has to be to understand the Quran and the Sunnah. And this is also what will open ways for us to fight against the Satan.
Right, of course.
Because there are some things you just better understand them when you have a certain knowledge about Arabic, and there's a lot of things.
Of course. But let's talk about the difference between knowledge and information, because I think we all know many people that we consider to be knowledgeable and that have more knowledge than us, but then you don't see them really applying that knowledge. So can you talk a little bit about that?
You know, there are certain warnings also in the Quran and in the Sunnah about this. You know, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, مثل الذي يتعلم العلم ثم لا يحدث به كمثل الذي يكنز الكنز ثم لا ينفق منه. The example of the one who learns and then doesn't teach is like the example of the one who has a treasure and he does not give sadaqah from it. You have to give sadaqah of your knowledge. The next thing is the Prophet says in the hadith, وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. The Quran is a proof for you or against you. Then Allah says a very, 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 and this is very important for us to understand, you know, because some people, they think, you know, Dawa or giving knowledge is just, you know, to sit in the mosque and to teach a certain book of a certain scholar. This is not the classical Dawa. You know, the classical Dawa is, I go to the sinners, I talk with the people who don't pray, I don't,
active.
You know, I don't underestimate this kind. This kind is, you know,
very useful.
I don't want anybody that maybe does misunderstand me. No, this is very important, but this is for special people. But for example, I know the prayer is an obligation. Now I see the people around me, they're not praying. So what do I say? I have to go to them. I say to them, يا أخي أول ما يحاسب عليه العبد يوم القيامة الصلاة إن صلحت صلح سائر عملي وإن فسرت فسر سائر عملي. The first thing, you know, I know this hadith, so I give it, I apply it.
But you give this treasure to people, right?
So I give it. The first thing on the last day, the worshipper will be asked about is the prayer. If the prayer was good, the other deeds will be good, and if the prayer was bad, the other deeds will be bad. And there is an ayat in the Quran. This is very important. إن الذين يكتمون ما أنزلنا من البينات والهدى من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب أولئك يلعنهم الله ويلعنهم اللاعنون. That means those who يعني كتمان يكتمون, that means, you know, they know something and they don't tell other people about it. يكتمون ما أنزلنا من البينات والهدى. You know, who you know, hide, don't tell others about.
Conceal the truth.
Conceal what was revealed from the bayinat explanations and the huda, that means the guidance.
Right.
After من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب, after we make it clear to the people in the book,
Right.
what will happen to them? أولئك, those, Allah's curse will be upon them, and the curse of the cursing.
Imagine.
So, you know, there is really something from shaitan in this ummah today, that people think da'wah is just for people who studied 20 years in the university. No, yeah, maybe you also use it. They ask you, for example, yeah, who give you the license to talk about this and that?
Yeah, people
Yeah,
say-
akhi, the Prophet gave me the license. The Prophet said, من بلغ عني ولو آية. If you know something, I talk about this.
Yeah.
But with a condition
Right.
that we don't talk about things we have no knowledge about.
Sure.
So we should not be embarrassed when we say, I don't know. I
Of
have to
course.
look one more time.
Of course.
It's also often, you know, it
The
happens
great
to me.
scholars did that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, brother.
No, excuse me. You know, sometimes, for example, it happens to me. I read about something, and then later on, I have to think, hey, did you read this? And, you know, because you forget
Right,
it.
right. And
So you have to look one more time. You say for him, for example, and this is very important, you say, you know what? And this is also in Kashf Shubuhat of Muhammad Abdul Wahab. He gives this, if you don't have an answer, he says, you know, I have no answer to this. I don't know this hadith, but I know that Quran don't contradict itself, and
Yeah,
the
right.
Sunnah doesn't contradict the
right.
Quran, and so on. So if somebody comes to you with a question, you don't know the answer, just say, thank you for the question. Or you do it like Yusuf Estes, thank you for asking me about my religion. You know?
But I
And
think
then-
the great scholars did this as well. If they didn't know, they didn't speak about it. Isn't that right?
Yeah,
Brother
there
Pierre?
is, for example, Imam Malik. It said that there came one guy and he went to him to ask him questions. And of course, I mean Imam Malik. Who is like Imam Malik? And he said, of course, he thought, of course, yeah, Imam Malik, he's the one who can give me answers.
Yeah, right.
And from 40, from 40 questions, I think it was 40, but a lot of, I think 40, he answered 4 questions.
imagine that.
And the others say, Allahu Alam, Allah knows best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know exactly 40
But
or
something
40,
like that,
but,
okay.
but something like this. I
Yeah.
think from 40 he didn't answer 36.
Yeah.
He answered only 4
So
questions.
imagine that, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You guys at
Inshallah.
home, stay tuned for more Let's Talk with Pierre Vogel.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind. So the ummah or the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are all mankind since the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Let's Talk with Pierre Vogel. You guys give me an email at talk@huda.tv. I'll respond to your emails personally. Let me know what you think of the show, what guests you'd like to see in the future, and what topics you'd like to address. Of course, this is your channel, so I always respond to your feedback and your emails, inshallah. Brother Pierre, we're talking about seeking knowledge all around the world. Many people are traveling from countries to countries seeking knowledge. We talked about some online universities, Huda Academy, HudaOnlineAcademy.com, Mishka with Dr. Hatem, as well as Islamic Online University with, of course, Dr. Bilal Phillips. So knowledge is very important. We're talking about seeking knowledge, secular knowledge and Islamic knowledge. But let's just really recap. They go hand in hand, don't they? We can't have one without the other.
I don't say we cannot all have the one without the other, but I think it's important for us in this time, in this area, in this era, to have both.
Right.
It's very important. As I said, we have challenges,
Right.
and we have to look according to Islamic standards. How can we solve certain problems? For example, the water problem, which will happen. For example, also the economic problems right now.
Right.
Islam has answers to it,
Right.
but we have also to look how to apply the Islamic knowledge on our reality. This is also very important.
Okay.
So what I say is every human being should have a certain amount of Islamic knowledge. He doesn't have to be a scholar. But we have to have in our ummah also people who are specialists in different fields.
Of course, certainly.
It can also be that some scholar, he has no knowledge about worldly knowledge, no
Right,
problem.
right.
No, it's not a problem. You know, the Islamic knowledge is more important for us because our aim at the end is paradise. But in our society,
Yeah,
we
collectively.
need really specialists in every field.
Sure, of course.
And maybe you are the specialist, and if you attain worldly or secular knowledge
Right.
for the sake of Islam and Muslims,
Right. Then it becomes an act of worship, right, brother? Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
it's right.
If I'm really good at my work, I become an alim in my field, whether I'm a writer or a mathematician, and I use it for the sake of our ummah,
Yeah.
then this is also
yeah, if
wonderful
you
thing.
do it with the intention,
Right.
to benefit the ummah, you know, this is a nice thing, you know, in Islam.
Of course.
If you do something which is halal, for example, you know, eating is actually halal.
Right.
You know, but you do it with the intention that I'm after eating, I'm strong to read Quran or
Yeah.
defend the religion or for
Right.
jihad, for
or
example.
even- yeah.
Then your eating becomes an act of worship.
Of course, yeah,
you know?
that's an excellent point.
So if you, for example, learn something to benefit the Muslims and the Islamic countries, that's a great thing.
Yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
this is why I say everybody should look at his situation.
Of course, according to your situation.
Yeah, like in the time of the Sahaba, there were people who were known for their jihad,
Right.
but they were not known for their knowledge.
Right.
Khalid ibn al-Walid,
Right.
he was known for his fighting. He was not known. Of course, we don't say he is a jahil, no.
Yeah.
But in comparison to other Sahabis, to other companions, you know, he is not as much knowledge like, for example,
Yes,
Ibn
of course.
Abbas.
Of course, right.
Other people, for example, like Abu Huraira or Ibn Mas'ud, they are not famous for jihad. They also fought in jihad. The first ghazwa of Abu Huraira was, for example, Ghazwat al-Mu'ta.
Right.
You know, the first encounter against the Romans.
Right.
So he was also there. But or Uthman ibn Affan, as I said before, you know, what was the deed where the Prophet said, ما در عثمان ما فعل بعد اليوم. Uthman will not, nothing will have a negative effect on him. What he did does after this day, it will not have a darra on him. You know, like affect him negative. You know, when he gave in Ghazwat Tabuk all these camels and all this gold for the army. You know, he was, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, when he came to Medina, he just said, where's the souk, where's the market?
Right, I can make my own living.
Because he was somebody, he had a talent in this.
Right.
And the Prophet did not say, don't do it.
Right.
Other Sahabis had, for example, this, in media they were strong. The media of those days were share, yes, poesy.
Of course,
like
good point.
Abdullah ibn Rawaha.
Right.
He was also a big mujahid, but he was also strong
In poetry.
and he was defending the Prophet by this.
So we want to use our personal talent. It's simple
Yeah,
to defend it, to promote Islam
Yeah.
and to serve the Muslim Ummah.
Absolutely,
That's an excellent point. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I do feel it's interesting. In the Western world, Muslims are traveling to the Middle East to acquire Islamic knowledge. And Muslims in the Middle East, quite often they travel to the West to acquire secular knowledge. Ideally, we would have both of these in our Muslim countries. Wouldn't you agree, brother?
Yes. But I also want to say for the people who go to the West, that the scholars gave some conditions for studying in the West.
Or living in the West in general.
And living in the West, this is also something very important. And I, because it's a long topic, but Sheikh Uthaymin rahimullah in his explanation of Usul Thalath, he's talking about this topic, and I just give the advice to read this book. It's also available in English.
Wonderful.
And he says first for going to the West, there are two conditions. Firstly, that you have the knowledge to
refute this negativity.
refute, like shubuhat, like arguments against Islam.
Yeah, sure.
And secondly, that you have the iman to withstand the shahawat that are there.
The
like
sinfulness.
the sinfulness, like naked women
Yeah,
everywhere,
sure.
like this. And the third, that you are muhtaj for this, that you really need it.
Okay.
For example, in the West, there is a knowledge you cannot attain in the Arabic countries, so you go there.
Right, sure.
Or for example, and he says also that the Dawa in the West, it's a kind of jihad, he says. It's an art of jihad. This is what
sure.
Shaykh Uthaymin says in
Subhanallah.
explanation of Usul Thalath, and his books are also, because we are talking about attaining knowledge,
Right.
his books are really very beneficial. Everybody recommend to just read his books in English. In English we have a lot of things.
Great.
And I also say, try to read every day a bit.
Right. Excellent. That's beautiful advice. And why? Tell the viewers why.
Because really, it's often like, we make the mistakes. We want to study. Yes, we make a plan. Yeah, we study 6 hours a day.
One day after Fajr.
And then one day you're tired. One day something happens and you say, yeah, next week we start. Next month. And so you were wasting your time.
Right.
If you would just read every day a bit.
Yeah.
And there's a hadith of the Prophet that the most beloved deeds in the sight of Allah are those who are consistent, even if they are not much.
Right.
So just read a bit. If you are not able to read one juz a day, then read one hisb. Juz means 20 pages or almost from the Quran. If not, 10. If not, maybe 1 page.
Right.
But 1 page is better than nothing.
Yeah,
some people, they did never read the Quran in their whole life.
Yeah,
if they would read every day 1 page, after 2 years or less than 2 years, they read the whole Quran.
Course, yeah.
So there are a lot of good books and a lot of good lectures. And I say, for example, also, like audioislam.com, there are a lot of good lectures. Like also BilalPhillips.com, of course, my...
No, but I'm really happy to read, because I feel like we're not teaching our kids to read anymore. We don't emphasize the importance of reading, so thank you for bringing that up.
It's very, there are so many good books from good scholars, and I say, the books, for example, of Shaykh Uthaymin, they're very, very beneficial. And the book of Tawheed, of Islamic monotheism, of Bilal Phillips.
Check it out for sure.
Excuse me, but this book is just great. If you read this book, because he's talking about a lot of certain issues that you have in the West, like certain talismans and certain, and if you know this, it will benefit you in Dawa.
In your daily life
very much, and we have some people that accepted Islam because of this book.
MashaAllah, over in Germany, MashaAllah, that's amazing.
So make your plan, for example, look where you can read something, take the beneficial books. The most important knowledge in the beginning is the knowledge about Tawheed, but at the same time, look what you like, because it's always easier to benefit from what you like, because maybe if you sometimes people, they say, yeah, read this book, but actually they don't like this book. So if you would read at the same time, you would read another book, we would benefit. Also, what I say to everybody who knows English, you should read the Kutub Sittah. Read Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi. They're all translated. Try to read it, and especially Bukhari and Muslim, because they're all authentic, the hadith. And actually me, I benefited a lot from this. When I accepted Islam, I came to Egypt, right after accepting Islam, I bought here Bukhari in English. And I read it in 1 year, and the next year I bought Sahih Muslim and I read it in English.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. And I tell you, you get a feeling for what is authentic when you just read it. Some people say, don't stay away from the hadith, you don't understand it. Akhi, the Prophet ﷺ was the clearest in explaining. And of course, you maybe don't understand everything. But, you feel, especially we have not only enemies outside of Islam, we have also Ahlul Bid'ah.
They,
and what is their way? They come with unauthentic sayings.
Or out of context as well.
So if you, out of context, unauthentic sayings,
Right.
or they just twist the meaning of something. But if you read Bukhari and Muslim and you just read every day a bit, you will benefit.
You will strengthen.
And it reminds you. If you, for example, read about the prayer, the best row is the first row. If you read it, maybe you lost it. Then the next day, believe me, you would think, I have to get the stats.
Yeah, because you've read it and you put it into your mind. Yeah.
And this is why we always need this remembrance. How often does Allah say in the Quran that the Quran is for remembrance?
Right.
وَذَكِّ بِالْقُرْآنِ مَن يَخَافُ وَعِيدٍ. And remember with the Quran those who fear the wa'id. Wa'id means, like I say to you, if you do this, then this and that will happen to you. So this is also the Quran. Like there's a hikmah, a wisdom. Why there is in the Quran not one surah everything is mentioned about hellfire, and one surah every detail about paradise. But you see a detail about paradise here, and you detail about paradise in this surah, and a detail in Surah Al-Rahman, and you see detail about hellfire, for example, in Surah Al-Taghabun, and you see a detail about hellfire in Surah Muhammad, and you see detail. Why? Because Allahu Alam, but the hikmah of this is because when we read the Quran, first of all, you have an ijtihad. We try to get the information from everywhere, read the whole Quran. Secondly, we need this remembrance in different times. This is also why we pray 5 times a day. Not 1 time a day, 5 times, but 5 times a day. Because we need this remembrance that we think about Malik Evangelatos, the ruler on the judgment day. You have to think about this.
Right, that's excellent.
SubhanAllah.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Let's go to the studio audience, Brother Sharif. Do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. We have been talking about the knowledge which we can get a benefit from it. What kind of knowledge we should avoid?
That's a good question, Brother Pierre, because I've heard a lot of people say if you're not really founded in Islamic knowledge, you shouldn't, for example, seek knowledge in other religions. If you're not strong enough in faith and deen and knowledge, certain things like that. What is your opinion?
Yes, of course. There are certain kinds of knowledge. For example, if you are not have no foundation in Islam, it's very dangerous for you.
It doesn't make sense.
For example, if somebody speaks with Christians, missionaries, or he wants to go in a German. I give you an example. If you go to to university, and you start to learn Orientalism, study Orientalism. This teacher, and you have not knowledge about Islam, he will confuse you.
But what do you mean by Orientalism?
Orientalism, it's actually, like Edward Said says in his book about Orientalism, it's a so-called science that was developed, and the rules are back into the time of the Crusaders to destroy Islam.
Okay, I got you.
And people they try to learn Islam, like in universities in Germany and England and whatever, and they have no idea about Islam. And then there comes a teacher, and he says to him, and the worst is if there comes a teacher and he claims to be a Muslim.
And this will just confuse the people.
Yeah, and he says, for example, homosexuality is halal in Islam.
And this would confuse somebody with no knowledge.
Yeah. And then he says, where's the dalil that this is this is haram? And if somebody has no knowledge about Islam, he should avoid this.
Okay.
And he should avoid to sit with people from the inventors. Also. But also worldly knowledge, of course, there are a lot of things, where you see from the beginning there's no benefit in it. One thing, for example, to learn sihr, magic. To learn this.
There's plenty of this stuff.
Lead you into kufr,
of course.
So of course we have to choose it. But for example, medicine, for example,
engineering, mechanics,
all these things are things Islam encouraged this about our world, and this is also why I said before. It's the most important thing for us is Islamic fundament. Islamic fundament. That means when we have children, we don't put them in the school. We say, no, I just want that he is a doctor and he doesn't learn something about religion.
Right,
yes, what about his prayer?
Right.
What about his prayer? The first thing on judgment day will be,
His prayer.
he will be asked about the prayer. So what about this? What about Tawheed? A lot of things in Tawheed, like a lot of people don't know. They go to graves, or they have a talisman. Yeah, this talisman, it gives me more power in the test. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, "Man ta'allaqa tamimatan faqad ashrak." Who, takes a talisman, he has committed an act of shirk.
Right, okay.
If he believes that really this things benefits him, it's big shirk. It's what puts you out of religion. But if he thinks Allah gives him benefit from this, then it's minor shirk, but minor shirk is still a big sin. So, this is why we say, or why why we always emphasize that the Islamic foundation and the Islamic knowledge is the most important thing. All your knowledge. Look, Stephen Hawkins, or what is his name?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he has a lot of knowledge about things, but he's an atheist.
Right. So what did it benefit him, in other words?
What will this knowledge benefit him? A lot of people.
Yes,
they had a lot of knowledge about things, but the most important knowledge is the Islamic knowledge. At the same time, we are people, and Islam is dinun waqi'i, a realistic religion. We are in the real world, and we know, and we look at the seerah of the Prophet. The Prophet never prevent the people from searching for beneficial knowledge. So our advice is for the people, have a foundation in Islamic knowledge, and if you have a talent, look for the right worldly knowledge.
Thank you, brother, for really wrapping up our program in those last two sentences there. I certainly appreciate it. It was lovely advice. I look forward to having you back soon on Let's Talk, inshallah. And you're always welcome to be here, so thank you so much, brother. And you guys in the Wajazakum Sheikh, and of course you guys in the studio audience, thank you guys for participating in another episode of Let's Talk. And you guys at home, thank you for watching Let's Talk, and thank you for staying tuned to Huda TV. So until next time, give me an email, talk@huda.tv. And until then, we leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the dips are high, and you want to smile but have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Jami'an min. Everything is from him. So that means Allah put in this and that a benefit for us. So we have to look which kind of benefit is in this particular thing. And this is also one of the keys why the Muslims in former times were the best in non religious science.
Okay.
They were the best without the slightest shadow of a doubt.
Of course, we can even say that civilizations have gone downward because perhaps we lost both. We stopped seeking Islamic knowledge so much and secular knowledge.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of competitions and a lot of challenges in the future. The Prophet ﷺ, he was a person, he had open eyes. He knew, for example, in the 5th year after Hijrah, when Ghatafan and Quraysh, they band together and came with 10,000 soldiers to Medina, he knew it before. And so they were able to shuffle this khandak, to come with this
tunnel, a ditch.
The ditch, yes. Why? Because he knew, he was always forbearing. And so we have to be like this. For example, we know now, or there are, they estimate that in future there will be a big problem of water. So we, especially the Muslim countries, are in deserts. We have to look now, how can we solve this problem in the future? So
When things go wrong as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome, dear Huda TV viewers from all around the world. Welcome to your favorite program, Let's Talk, of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV. I know I'm a little bit biased because I work here, but I do believe that Huda TV, mashallah, is the premier and pioneer Islamic channel in the English language. You guys give me an email at talk@huda.tv if you have any ideas or suggestions for new topics, new ideas, and new guests for this wonderful program, inshallah. Speaking about today, we have a very interesting topic and a very interesting guest. Let me introduce the guest first. He hails from Cologne, Germany. He's a dear friend to Huda TV. He travels the world promoting and defending Islam. He's a wonderful brother. We're happy to have him. Of course, I'm talking about Perre Vogel. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Pierre. How are you?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for being here. I certainly appreciate it. You're always welcome to be on Let's Talk. I really mean it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Pierre. And of course, we have our wonderful studio audience here. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. You guys, thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule as well. The brother up here with the mic, can you give us your first name, what you do, and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Sharif Ahmad. I'm from Cairo, Egypt. I'm a freelancer German teacher. And it's a pleasure to me to have a seat with you today and to listen about seeking of knowledge.
MashaAllah, thank you, brother. Now you speak English, you speak Arabic. What other languages do you speak?
German and Spanish too.
German and Spanish. ¿Cómo estás? And also speak as Deutsch, MashaAllah. You guys can talk after the show a little bit.
Yeah.
In German?
Thank you so much, Brother Sharif. Brother Pierre, we want to talk about knowledge, okay? Perhaps we can define what do we mean by knowledge, because, for example, I attended a university in California, and I took, MashaAllah, by the grace of Allah, a degree in English language, literature. So is this qualified as knowledge? What do we mean by knowledge? Are we only talking about Islamic sciences?
Yeah, mostly when we talk about knowledge and we are not giving any detail, we are talking about Islamic knowledge. But of course, the worldly knowledge from beneficial subjects is also very important for us, and we should not underestimate it.
Okay.
You know, I give you an example. You know what for example, there are some parents, for example, they just want that their children become shuyukh, ulama.
Right.
And they put them in a certain school, especially in Arabic countries, where they are only learning Islamic subjects. But I say, you know, we need in our community, we need scholars, Islamic scholars, and maybe it's right that we really, you know, have the most, maybe this is the most important, especially in this time for us, because we have to defend the religion, inshallah. But my opinion is that we should, from the beginning, of course, give them is Islamic, you know, like foundation, exactly, like Tawheed and Fiqh, you know, that they know how to pray, they know who Allah is, you know what the religion is, they know about the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the same time, you know, there is also worldly knowledge, and there is one verse in the Quran, you know, and I think most Muslims don't really think about it. I think this verse is, when we ponder about it, really a verse who encourages to seek knowledge about the universe and everything.
Not necessarily Islamic knowledge.
Yeah, all the knowledge about everything. Allah says in Surah Al-Jathiyah, it's the 45th chapter of the Quran in verse 13. He says, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مِّنْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. That means He made everything, سَخَّرَ لَكُم, that means like, you know, He make it useful for you, or he make it beneficial for you, you know. Everything in the heavens and earth. And this are really signs for those who think deeply. When we have now, you can look at the translation in your, it's 45:13.
Okay.
Surah 45:13. So when we see, for example, something like the planet this or the planet that or this or that hayawan, animal,
right,
there is a benefit in it for us.
Right.
وَسَخَّرَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. But we need also doctors. We need also people who invent something. And so what I like is, because every single human being has his particular talents.
That's right.
Particular talents. So maybe your son, he has a talent to be a good mathematician. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was the best in choosing for certain topics, certain people. For example, he chose Mus'ab ibn Umair to go to Medina to teach the people about Islam. He chose Mu'adh ibn Jabal to bring them to go to Yemen and teach the people about Islam. But he chose Usama ibn Zayd for certain wars. He chose his father Zayd ibn Haritha for jihad, and so on. So he chose people, and they had different. For example, Abu Huraira. One example. Abu Huraira, his speciality is not jihad, and his speciality is not giving sadaqah like Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, or like Uthman ibn Affan, who were very famous for giving sadaqah.
Right.
But his strongest was in memorizing a hadith.
Right.
So everybody has a talent, and he should look, where is my talent? How can I benefit the Ummah? Maybe your talent is to be a good doctor.
Right.
Do we need doctors? Yes, we need doctors, we need this. And so we should look that we give at the beginning, it's my opinion, my personal opinion, and of course I think I have a good explanation for it.